All right, Xfinity, Darlington. Here are my settings. Everything is kind of up for interpretation. I might even suggest maybe going up. You know what? I'm going to go back to 60 on the brake bias because this rear loves to kick out under the braking, and it's right on the edge at 57. You probably don't want to be anywhere below there, and for safety, you probably want to be above there. Because we're only really using the brake to drag into 3, and it gets really tail happy there. Gonna be a second lap hot lap. Gonna just kind of roll around first lap because turn 1 and 2 has like no grip on cold tires, which is fine. Track temp was very hot here, like in the 110s, I think. So if you're looking at lap times, be careful because there might be track states for races that are in like the 80s, a track temp, and that's like legitimately like a second quicker. So we're just gonna focus on kind of the how to approach the track so that you can approach it regardless of what the track temperature is for the race. Don't even look at what I'm doing right now. I'm just making sure not to slide tires or anything. All right, to set up for our lap 2 here, we're gonna early on the brake here. We're gonna try to get the car turned early and then back on the throttle. We're just gonna roll right by the wall. Try to turn it down a little on exit. Just try to get on that throttle a little early. That's pretty good. So roll mostly out of the throttle here, get all the way down to the bottom, let it roll up to the top, full throttle as we approach the top. Let it start to turn off the wall, bring it back down with a little bit of off throttle, and drive it full throttle through the last part of the diamond. Very good. Now we're gonna get early brake here, try to aim for the bottom. Try not to let it slip up. Slipped up a little bit, should be okay. We're just gonna keep it on this groove now that we're here. Yeah, pretty good. Alright. So yeah, that should be a good lap for this track temp. I did want to keep that car all the way by the bottom, but since the car wanted to slide up a bit, I just let it. Yeah, 108. Okay, so it's cooling down a little bit. That's probably why we got so much gains in turn 3. Okay. Turn 1 here. So, full throttle, and then as I turn my wheel, I lower to about 25 1/3 percent throttle. Really try to bring it all the way down. Don't hit the apron or whatever you call that part of the track because that'll straighten out your car. So you want to get as close as possible. And then you just let the car roll back up. And if you do this with the correct timing, this will take practice. But if you do this with the correct timing, you should be able to full throttle before you reach the wall. You see that? You see how I'm not done sliding up yet? The reason is because when I full throttle, my car should be in a balance to where if I full throttle, it'll rotate the car a little bit. And I just save that last bit of rotation to keep myself completely parallel with the wall at full throttle. And then about 2 seconds later, maybe even a second, I start turning back down the track. You want to be heading down the track around right here. And you have to go about 40-ish, maybe half throttle, and then use a little bit of wheel, but you shouldn't have to use too much wheel. You see how my wheel doesn't change very much when I start turning down? It's a little bit more, but most of the work is done by the off throttle, okay? So don't try to force full throttle because that's how you disengage your rear tire. You want to do a little bit on the wheel because your rear can handle a little bit more, but you want to mostly be turning with the off throttle. And then if you do this all correctly, you should be able to full throttle through the final part of the diamond. You should be diamonding. The last part of the diamond should be at like the last possible moment before you come back into the straight. You see how I'm like barely leaving any turn left when I come down? You really want to just make that turn down an extension of the straightaway. You see how like all this kind of just connects itself right here and it just makes one long straightaway there. So that's what we're looking for. We're just trying to straighten that exit out. That means you can carry the throttle through it. Okay, so turn 3 here, really early brake. You might be able to dive a little bit deeper, especially with a slightly higher brake bias. But as you can see here, I kind of jumped the level of grip a little bit. So I broke a little bit before the logos start. And I'm really just trying to get the car to stick to this seam right here. But you can see that I probably could have held a little more trail brake, huh? I probably should have held a little bit more brake, but I think I was starting to get a little bit light, so I was afraid of having more trail brake because I would kick the rear out. Whatever led to it, if your car is starting to slide up the track, just let it. You don't want to fight it, and then pick up the throttle and kind of catch it. So you can see how the throttle, a lot of the times you would think, shouldn't the throttle be sliding up towards the track? No, because regardless of where my car ends up, I want to just hold that trail brake until the car turns back down. And that's when I can pick up that half 60, 70% throttle and then slowly raise the throttle to 100%. Try to force it a little bit early just because it's hot lap, but you shouldn't need to in a race. So it's a pretty normal corner compared to turn one. We're just trying to get to our line, trail brake until it sticks, and then ride the throttle until we can go full throttle and straighten the wheel. Like, that's a time-tested method that we've talked about in many tracks. So think of turn 3 and 4 as a more normal corner. Long run, I really love the bottom of 3 and 4. I think that the top of 3 and 4 is very tempting to make up a lot of time, but especially in hotter track temperatures, your right rear doesn't have enough grip to make the top really have much more momentum than the bottom. So why don't we just kind of save tire, roll the bottom, and not have to fight for the momentum with our car. With that being said, I'll roll it up here just for the outlap. Turn 1 is going to be extremely cold tires. Turn 1 and 2 is going to have no grip. Turn 3 and 4 will start to be fine. But turn 1 and 2 of your race here, really be careful. Like, lift a little bit earlier into 1 because that thing is not going to want to stick. Still want to get that turn down here. As late at apex as possible, but you got to get off the wall. Okay, early brake. See that? We're just going to get to the bottom. Yeah, right there. This Xfinity car loves to get a little bit loose about a quarter of the way into the corner. Don't love not getting all the way to the bottom there, so we have to we have to wait on the throttle a little bit longer, but this is still a really good turn down. Track must be getting cooler. You can just see how the track is so dependent on track temperature for lap times. So yeah, I took it a little bit easier down the bottom, and my car didn't slide, and that let me a lot more smooth of a corner center. But then the car started to get a little bit tight, which tells me I needed to stay on the trail brake just a little bit longer just to help for rotation, and then I would have been a lot more aggressive on the throttle coming out. I didn't get all the way up to the wall that time, so you can see the whole flow of the corner gets messed up if you don't track your car all the way out to the wall. Just be really patient. A little bit tight on exit here in this setup. I have a feeling this one, the truck was burning more right rear than right front. This one feels like it's burning a little more even, but not in a good way. I feel like 1 and 2, I'm hanging out the right rear more than I should, and 3 and 4, I'm putting the car on the right front a little more than I should. Let's try middle a little here. I think I just need to be focusing on not being too early back on the throttle. Because when I get too early back on the throttle, the car gets tight. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Car gets tight in 3 and 4 if you get back on the throttle too early, and it's just better on tire and not that much worse on lap time if you just kind of let it rotate a little bit longer before getting back onto full throttle. Overdrove this. Yeah, oops. I forgot which corner I was in. I've done that at Darlington way too many times, man. Way too many times. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It feels more even, but I feel like we could be doing better on both tires. But at least we know that the tires are kind of prioritizing a different corner, or vice versa. So this might help you on tire saving, but just keep that in mind. If you start kind of jumping the edge on one corner where it starts leaning on the other one, then it could be doubly bad. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.